All right,
Got
got
it.
it. All right, so I guess we are live. Let me
Nice.
see. Let me see the confirmation.
Yeah, I've got it live on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Let me just refresh. Why it says private for some reason? Let me just have a look. Can you see it?
It says on my screen live on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It comes up immediately, actually.
I don't know why it says private. Mm. Okay, now it's fine. All right, so today we'll talk about crafting your portfolio. You'll get all the tools you need to build an amazing portfolio so you can actually get a job or create a product which is going to make you millions of dollars per month, per day, actually. Is
Potentially.
this a big claim? That's a big claim.
That's a big claim. Per day
Yeah.
is a big
Uh,
claim. Well,
per month, yeah, it's possible. No, per year, I would say. Every big thing starts small, right? That's what she said. No, but for real, it's
it's true. It's true.
I'm gonna share with you, Ed, and with the listeners, my thought process for creating an application that will make you look like a professional, and also solve a real world problem. Because I think essentially the reason why people want to become developers is, yeah, maybe for the money, but you also like building stuff. I don't know if you were like this, but I remember when I was 5, I was spending hours spinning in circles thinking about how to build a racing car, a race car. You know what I mean? Like I love the thinking about solutions. I was thinking, how can I build that thing that Spider-Man has so I can jump off buildings and whatnot? And my father told me, hey, you cannot be Spider-Man, and he destroyed my dreams and whatnot. But anyway, I was always thinking about like building stuff. So I do believe that people who are interested in programming are also builders in
Yeah,
one way or another, right? Otherwise, you'd go in another direction. So today I will show you how I think about coming up with a portfolio project, and I'm actually gonna set up a Google document, and then I'm gonna share it in the chat so guys can follow uh, follow the process. And I'm making it right now, and then I'm gonna share it with you, Ed, first of all, so you can
cool.
have it. And then I'm gonna share it in the chat as well, so people can. I lost you, Calico Stephens. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what exactly you mean by that. Anyway, so portfolio project. Now let's think about what a portfolio is, right? Because so we need to go back to the first principles, which means asking a bunch of questions and understanding what we are dealing with in the first place, right? So a portfolio is a place where you store your work and you want to show your work to someone, so then you can impress some person and flex your muscles on them, right? That's kind of the idea behind this, right? But I don't agree with this idea of having a portfolio unless you have a lot of experience and you really want to showcase some work. So once you're in the programming space for some time and you've been accomplishing amazing things, then I think you should have a portfolio. But I believe that juniors should create one thing, one application, and then use that as their work experience. That's kind of my philosophy, because in this way, you are doing the work of the portfolio. So instead of having like 5 mediocre applications, let's create one that's really good, that shows that you have the skills to solve a real problem, and then slap that on your resume, and then people will see that you know what you're talking about, right? Does that make sense? That's how I think about it. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think about that opinion?
Yeah, I mean, you've taught me before about underselling yourself with a portfolio, and we can intend it to be one thing, but actually it can do a disservice to our skill set. And so I think that the portfolio is, yeah, one of the questions is, what are you trying to demonstrate? Because the portfolio, it can just be, oh, I need to build something. I need to have something that people can look at. But if you know what you're trying to demonstrate, then you can be a bit more refined in the decision process.
Exactly. So let's start with the application. So when we want to make an application, we don't start with writing code. Probably you started to realize this a while ago, right? We start with a problem, right? So we have a problem first, aka the ideation, I guess. Is this
I
word?
don't know if that's a word.
I think it is, bro.
Is it? Cool.
The formation of ideas.
Nice.
You see, bro.
Nice.
So we start with the problem first, and then we have the execution, right? So problems and ideas, there are a dime a dozen. Like everyone can have ideas, but most people think the idea is the most important part. It's like 5%. So the
Absolutely.
idea is 5%. The execution is 120%. That's kind of the split between them. Because if you really want to find an idea or a problem to solve, you can spend, I don't know, a week and you can just think about stuff, but you really need to think about it. Years ago, I was finding ideas literally every day, because I was traveling, I was going there, and then I was driving this car, and then I was almost breaking the car, and then I was like, oh, what if I would rent my car? How can I figure out if someone would actually drive the car the way I was driving it? So you start finding problems, but then I never executed on it because that was the difficult part, right? It is
One
what it
good
is.
thing to stay here is I was just thinking about, identifying the problem. And so, for example, we're thinking of a company, Uber. You could look at, oh, well, what the problem was people need to get vehicles because then it's too late to get a bus, or it's awkward, or they just want to go door to door. A taxi service already existed, but they weren't solving the problem because the taxi service had a problem with its execution. So what Uber did was look at the execution and solve a problem within that. So instead of us having to try and think about new problems, just finding better ways to do it, i.e., look at the execution of something and think, how could I improve this?
Exactly. And that's kind of where I want to go in this video. Because Uber kind of flipped the coin, you know what I mean? Same with Airbnb, they kind of flipped the coin. But if you have big balls, you make big money, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, so we have a problem. We need to find the problem first, and then we need to learn how we need to execute on the problem. And you were mentioning before the live stream that you already have a problem, but you have problems with the execution because you want to start a new one, or what's the problem with execution?
Well, no, I mean, I have a natural tendency to flick from idea to idea, and I think that's part of the issue of being a creative, is getting that structure and sticking with something long enough. But it's more that I'm actually stuck in the getting it to work. But the reason I chose to tackle this was because I thought I could do it quite quickly. And of course, if we're exploring a new ground, i.e., new technology, there is no such word as quickly unless you have guidance, really good guidance. So it was more, I thought I could knock this out in a day, because what I wanted to do was just showcase my photography. Because for a company that's asking for specifically for having a profile, which I don't have, a portfolio, sorry. And then I decided, because they want AWS, I'll use AWS, and I'll run into issues there. So but the thing is, it's once I've got over this small problem, then I know exactly what I want to build, which is just a very visually pleasing thing that ticks the box for an eye for design, but also then incorporates AWS into it, which is a skill
the
that they
tech
would
they need.
like.
So yeah, that's what I also tried a startup, I think last year, and we had a great problem,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the problem is still viable, but the feedback loop from the start till we would start getting paid would be like 6 months.
Right.
So that's why we dropped it after 2 months, because we had to do other stuff, right? So
Yeah.
this is gonna be a problem. It's gonna take some time till you see some results from it. That's why I say, like, hey, make it your plan to stick with this for like 3-6 months, and don't expect anything out of it for the first 6 months. Yeah, because that's how it is. Otherwise, you will jump into another project thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not true. It's the grass is greener where you water it, and then what's your motivation? So if this app would be unrelated to photography because you're not interested in photography, because you are so if you'd build an app that would be outside of your interest, but you just build it because that's a good problem to solve, and you'd not be interested in that thing in any way, shape, or form, you'll drop it really quick.
Yeah.
So ideally this would be something that you are passionate about in one way or another. It sounds
Yeah.
cringy when you say passion, but like, not passion, but I guess interest.
Yeah.
You need to have an interest in something.
And it can be a problem in your life, because if you get to resolve that problem in your life, then that's a good motivation. And then if you can then, I mean, you're not going to be the only person that has this particular problem in life. So
Oh,
then
for
it's
sure.
finding, we kind of oversell. We are all unique, of course, but we oversell just how unique we are. And so
I was thinking about this today, actually. Yeah.
so then
Yeah.
it's kind of that's where the guy you introduced me to, Levels IO, Peter Levels, talked about he just solved problems that were in his life and found out who else was interested and found out and he wasn't like he would try things out. His philosophy was you should get things going in a month if you're flat out. And I think that there comes a point, he uses quite simple technology too. There's
Mhm.
there's so many tech stacks these days, and you can spread yourself a bit thin. But I think that there's the basics to get around. So things that have slowed me down recently are understanding about domain names, deployments, and
For
right
you?
now I'm using now the Amazon S3, and so the cloud, which is cloud storage.
Mhm.
But 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 ultimately, if you can just nail at least one tech stack in each of these areas, then you can keep using them yourself. It doesn't matter if if you're going for jobs and you need to expand your tech stack, sure. But if you've found stuff that works for you and you like it, it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying. You just figure out the basics and focus on then mastering those, because then you can rinse and repeat your ideas. This is my philosophy for what I'm going to do. So that's 6 months, which might be the first one. You can draw down to 3 months for the second one. And then
Mhm.
you can just, you narrow down the feedback loop within actually launching a product and finding if it can monetize. But it's that perseverance at first to know that it's going to be very confusing and slow, but rather than stick with what you know, push yourself into those uncomfortable areas.
I agree. Quick question, Ed, from our viewers. Are you in prison?
Am I in prison?
Yes, because of your orange sweater.
Oh, right. No,
No,
is the
like
answer.
Daniel is asking this. So yeah, just saying,
It
just passing.
it's not orange in the real life. It's just the camera view.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So let's start with the problem, okay? Now, because I have a business, right, and I have a bunch of issues, I solved today an amazing problem. Because a recent problem appeared, I solved it, and that made me think, hey, now I can sell this to other people. I'm probably not gonna do it, but then if I would say, okay, I'm not gonna teach programming anymore, and I would get out of this scene, what would I do to start a business, like a SaaS business, right? So the first thing that I would do is I would look into what I already know, right? Which is consulting, marketing, sales, things of that nature. And the first question that I would do is I would do some sort of market research. And I would start by asking this question: what software do you need to run a social media marketing agency? Right? That's the first thing that I would search. And then I would look into whatever comes up. I'll do research, right? The first step is, okay, let's do this. Problem. Research. Oh, research is difficult. I know. All right. So then we have social media management tools, right? That's the first thing that we see here. Do we have anything else? So this is like a comparison between different social media management tools. So all these apps are pretty much posting for you, right? They are automating the posts. So I can write a bunch of posts in bulk, and then I can schedule them. So I don't have to press the button, if that makes sense. Like on LinkedIn, I don't press a button. I have an app which is called Hype Fury, I think. And that app is going to publish the post every other day at this time. You can even look at the time. It's always kind of posted at a similar time. It has a thing there which allows you to post like a random increase or decrease from that regular time. So it looks like it's natural and not a bot is posting it,
I gotcha.
So, but it's a bot posting it. Just saying. Okay.
Most people are doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have Buffer, Hootsuite, Social Pilot, Loomly, Iconosquare, Sendible. Now, from here, what I would do is I would make an account on all these apps: Buffer, Hootsuite, Social Pilot, Loomly, Iconosquare, Sendible, and then I would try to use them. And as I'm using them, I'm gonna kind of gonna create a review for each application. Okay, so let's say here, find your competitors, sign up and use the apps, and review the apps. Find pros and cons. Okay, that would be the first step. What do you think about this step so far?
I like that.
I think it's the second step probably.
I mean, it makes sense. And when you said research is difficult, it is. Everything is difficult when you start off, which is why when you start off trying to make, say, your own product, you feel like life is going at 1 mile an hour because you're having to learn everything all at once. And just understanding that you're not going to be good at anything, I think just accepting that in the first place. There's going to be moments where, oh, I can write this nice React component, but that's going to be such a small part of it if you're trying to find a problem and solve it. So I think we get a bit too frustrated with we have our too high expectations. And so it just helps to do that. And then also to help motivate yourself through that, using first principles to, just as I learned from your first principles last week, of course, and then the research, what is research? What is the benefit of doing research? How is research going to make me better at finding problems? And all that stuff, so that you can tie in, you've got motivation because you're understanding why you're doing it. And then accepting that you're practicing, I'm training myself to research. So we make these statements like, oh, I need to do research. Well, before you do research, you also kind of do it and learn to do it at the same time.
And then you get better at it anyway
And
with
then you
time.
get better, and then it's that compounding curve that we're not very good at looking at. Apparently, humans are quite bad at looking at compounds. They're looking at it's called in linearity bias. I learned it's what you put in is what you get out, and we're not very good at projecting forwards to think, oh, this effort is going to compound in the future because
Yes,
we want out
I
what we
understand.
put in.
Everyone wants something quick. I have a
So that's
viewer
my
in the
thought.
chat. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's trolling or not. It says our user feels like a juicy, leaky ham. I'm not sure if he's trolling or not, or
I
if
don't
he's
understand what that means.
me either. But you can see him there.
Okay. Well, if you can explain that a bit further, if that's a question, or
Ed loves to do that hand motion. Yeah, it's a troll. Probably
oh,
is the
okay.
yeah. Let me just get rid of him. Hide user on this channel. Yeah, man, the internet is messed up, bro. All
Well,
right.
people are.
Cool. Yes. We wish you good luck, brother.
Yes.
All right,
I
cool.
hope you sort out whatever you need to sort out in your life. Okay. So
Find
yeah,
Jesus. Okay. Right. Then the next thing that I would do is I will look up articles that are talking about all these uh, applications because I want to find out as many opinions. I want to figure out why is Loomly better than this? Why is Hootsuite better than this?
hmm
Why Hootsuite sucks? Can I beat
hmm
them with pricing? Can I beat them by doing less stuff? Because a lot of people think that their apps need to do a lot of things to be better. But in fact, sometimes I just want to pay for a service that does one thing. And for example, I'm paying for Hype Fury, and Hype Fury is made for Twitter, but has a LinkedIn integration as well. But I just want a LinkedIn posting app. You know what I mean?
hmm
And I
hmm
cannot find one. I like the way Hype Fury does everything, but I don't like the fact that I need to pay for the main feature is posting on Twitter, and if you wanna, and that's free. And if you wanna post on LinkedIn, you have to pay extra. So
Right.
what if I would make Hype Fury, but just for LinkedIn?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
And that would be the next thing. So let's type in here research reviews from other people. Okay. And see the pros and cons.
So two things come up to mind is if you can find, yeah, research the reviews. So Trustpilot, maybe they exist
I
on
don't think there's
Trustpilot.
Trustpilot for
Is there
this
not?
type of apps. No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
Because Trustpilot is more for like service-based businesses, from what I know.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't want to. I don't
Rather
want
than software as a service.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
So that would be the next thing. Then once I have, maybe 10 pages in a Google Doc written about this app, like literally, I have maybe 20 pages written on my customer. Okay, so the reason why I can make videos and all this stuff and talk about forever about any topic is because I know exactly what you're going through, what you were going through before you met me, what all these guys that are commenting here, I know every single thing about them. It's like pretty insane. But you also have to do the same thing in your niche if you want to create this SaaS, because you need to know like what triggers someone to spend $15 to buy your SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
you know That's how you have to think about it, because behind any decision, there is an emotion, and then we make that decision emotionally, and then we justify it with logic. It's
Yeah.
like there's no way around it. You feel hungry, you buy the burger, and you say, "Oh, but it's Friday anyway." Simple, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works. So then let's type in here. Write 10 pages on this app that you want to build. Okay, 10 pages at least, minimum. Talk about, but I feel like I'm giving them too much, and I'm overwhelming them already. But this is the sauce, this is like, if they would spend $3,000, $5,000 on a course that will teach them how to start a business, this is what they would get.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
hear you. I think it's knowing, again, it's that compounding effect of where you're putting your time, because we all want to get into building stuff, and that's where I'm prone at, is at the moment, and I want to actually code more, learn more tech and all that kind of thing. So doing the research is the bit where you feel like, is that actually worth it? Is my research valid? Is it valuable?
well, if you don't do this research, all your building is going to be for nothing.
Exactly.
This is like, probably this research is the most important thing you can do. Because if you build, let's say, you make a movie app, right? That's what everyone does. You make a movie app or an e-commerce website, and then you put it on your portfolio and say, "Hey, I'm a developer." Okay, but what problem is this thing solving?
Hmm.
And that's when you are actually, that's it.
And
The app that we are
perhaps,
building in the team project, for example, it has a real use case.
yeah,
And then once you guys will be hired, we'll shell it into your companies. That's the plan, to take over. That's the master plan.
that's the master plan. I see it now. And it's also about being attached to ideas, whereas the greatest entrepreneurs aren't. Well, let's say some of them have these big visions, but within the smaller scale of things. So I'm just thinking about Elon Musk and wanting to get to Mars, right? Like, he's attached to that idea and he's going to do everything he can to get there. And as far as I can tell, but with these smaller scale startups, when you're just beginning, having you get attached to an idea, you get very invested in it, and early on you can get deflated if you do the research and find out, oh, my idea's gone now. But actually, you're saving yourself thousands of hours of time compared to if you start building.
Okay, but I have an opinion on that as well, of course. So
Yeah,
now we
go.
have two options, right? One question, which is, do I wanna get a job with this app, or do I want to make $1 million per year with it? There are two questions,
Hmm.
because based on this answer, then the research can be smaller or bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to get a job, once you figure out this research and you have a basic idea, you can start building. If you want to make $1 million a year, then you don't build anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you want to get a job with this app, you're just going to research the competitors. You're going to figure out a quick design. You're going to ask ChatGPT, hey, make some text based on this, blah, blah, blah. You have the basic copywriting. And then you start creating the basic structure of the application. You keep writing a Google Doc. You keep describing every feature that you want to exist and whatnot. And that's it. You're done. You just have to build everything. That's kind of what we are doing in the team project.
Mhm.
But if I want to make $1 million per year with this app, I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. I'm going to research even more. And then I'm going to build one landing page, first of all. And then I'm going to create some sort of checkout for this app, or like a sign up. All apps have a sign up, right? And then I can build a sign up. And then when they put their name and email, or if they put their credit card or whatever, when they press submit or pay, I'm going to say, hey, this app is not yet ready, but in 3 months, we're going to release the beta. Do you want to be part of our mailing list? So we'll let you know when it's going to be done, and then you can be the first to test it. If yes, cool. If no, I'm going to delete your email. Then I can even I can refund you the cash, whatever, if I took the cash. But I don't think SaaS products work like that. You first get a free trial, and then you pay, right? So then you just say, hey, this app is not yet done. In 3 months, I'm going to have the beta version. Do you want to be part of it?
But that's a great way of collecting
Information
interest.
to see if it's worth building in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Because developers, what they do is they jump straight into building, which is the wrong thing to do. Developers develop, that's wrong. You don't want to be a developer if you want to build an app. First, you want to be a person that thinks about the problem and the solution. Then you build. Building is the last thing. But I'm curious about our viewers. Can you guys drop more likes on this live stream if you have value, if you got value from this information so far? And I'm also curious to see what's your take on whatever we discussed so far. So just drop a message in the chat. So yeah, bro, do you have any questions about this?
No, that's very useful for me, in particular, because I have an entrepreneur who's making her own startup, but she has a side idea that I can help her with, because I've been talking about my coding journey with her, and we're chatting on Saturday. And so this will be a useful thing to go through, because I get excited by putting my skills into action as a developer, but I'm more excited in the long haul of actually creating products and lots of micro startups. So we're going to take the time to do our research, and like you said, building is the last thing, but I can build a quick landing page and then we can start getting our interest.
But the research is not that complicated. It's going to take a week.
Yeah.
It's like a week to get started and a lifetime to complete it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in a week, you can make a lot of progress.
You can make a lot, especially compared to trying to code with new technology.
Especially, let's say you want to build, let's say, a scheduling tool like Hootsuite, right? The first question you ask yourself is like, after you've done your research and whatnot, then you can go ahead and find people that are using that type of tool. Maybe they're not using Hootsuite, but they're using this, right? And then you can ask them for 10 minutes of their time to ask them, hey, why did you choose that? What would make you switch to another application? What are you looking for? What do you hate about this app? Why did you buy it now? Why did you pay per year and not per month? Why did you buy per month and not per year?
How could you access these people?
Let's say, so we were looking at, my search query was social media marketing, right? Then you can find groups with people that are, have Facebook groups with people that run businesses, and then you can ask them questions. Hey, I'm doing a quick research. I want to build an app that is better than this.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Can you let me know have you ever used an app like this?
I
And then
see.
you can DM them, and then you do market research.
Yeah. I see. To find the Facebook groups.
Yeah, it's full of people. That's the best way to go about it, in my opinion. Because you can go on Twitter and you can find people that are 2,000 followers and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure they're using a scheduling tool, and then you can ask them questions, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point
You'll be
too.
ghosted most of the time, but
Someone might answer back. Someone who's
yeah,
having a problem might answer back too.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's it. You could do that on Instagram as well, with the message requests. Just send out a generic message.
Or personalized, even better.
Yeah, it depends on how many you want to send out. But you can automate it to make it feel personalized too.
So you can build a startup that makes automated messages look like they are personalized. You see? But you just have to do the work. Anyway, so we've done this part. We had the idea, which is 5%. Then we've done the research, which is complicated. And now we have the execution, right? Which is the most important part. So in terms of execution, we have a few points, right? Execution. We have fleshing out the idea. And then we have designing. And then we have coding. Fleshing out the idea means describing every feature.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, as a user, I want to be able to schedule posts in advance, right? Basic idea. As a user, I want to see the posts I've made in a calendar view, for example. So here, that's going to be the first 10 will come very easy, right? People will say, I want to log in. I want to have dark mode, you know, the bullshit
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? That's the easy part. We have few types of pictures, right? We have the, let's say, the structural features,
Mm-hmm.
like login, sign up, dark mode, whatever. And then we have selling points, which is scheduling posts, you know, scheduling posts. And then we have nice to haves. It will be dark mode, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People make only this, the structural features. Login, sign up, add a to do, done.
Right.
They have only like, if you want to eat a proper meal, you need to have the meat, the potatoes, then you have the salt. With most people, you
Mm-hmm.
just get the plate and the salt, you know what I mean? And you just lick the plate. You need the selling points, and you should have as many selling points as possible, or you should have features that support those selling points.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And what's the unique selling point? You know, why this product over all the others that you've
Well,
researched?
that comes from here,
Yeah.
right? I cannot come up with it because
No,
that's what,
no, but
you
that's
know,
that's sort of got to be the unique selling point can be anything from the new idea to a better execution or just, a cheaper version that does something more
you
specific
don't
like
usually don't want to
LinkedIn.
fight for cheaper. You don't want to fight for cheaper because you can always be beat down by cheaper
But
because you
what I'm
can only go
saying
to
is
zero.
is you've got that Twitter that's free and then you have to pay for the LinkedIn. But if you said, hey, well, we just want to create something that's only for LinkedIn, and so
Yeah,
people don't need to pay for all these additional services, but we're going to do LinkedIn spectacularly well.
Yeah, but for example, you can pay to see the analytics.
Mm.
You know what I
So
mean?
the add-ons. Yeah.
So you need to figure out from this research, you give them 2 things for free and then 10 paid.
Mm-hmm.
But those 10, you really need them because you pretty much solve a problem, but then you create another one.
Yeah.
That's what you sell.
Yeah.
Right? Because for example, this video here solves their problem, right? Which is, oh, I don't know what project to build. But then I create a new problem, which is, okay, but how do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I
Mm-hmm.
sell my stuff. You know what I mean? That's how it works. It's like, oh, I gave myself away. But no, that's how it works because
That's the essence of marketing, isn't it?
it's but that's how it is. Like you can look at any, for example, you look at a YouTube video, right? They say
Right.
these 5 things are la, la, la. And then they say, but you should watch this video as well. So they basically sell you to watch the next video so you can watch all their videos,
Yeah. But
right?
it's all the same. It's life, isn't it? As we solve one problem, we enter into a territory where new problems present themselves. And
Yeah.
so it's
For
just
example,
making value
you'll
out of
get a
that.
you'll get a junior job or mid, for example, if we're lucky. But then you'll have another problem, which is, okay, how do I get to senior?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have that problem. How do you do that? Well, you'll
Yeah.
end up buying another training. If you had a good experience here, you'll buy another training and you'll get to senior in 1 year instead of 5 years. This is how it works, you know.
Absolutely.
You solve a problem, you create another one. It's like once you buy a Ferrari, you're like, okay, now I have a Ferrari. I don't have one, but I'm just assuming that's how I would feel. Oh, I have a Ferrari, but I can only use it during the summer. So I need to buy an indoors garage and I need to buy the thing that keeps the battery charged so it doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So there's
That's
always,
exactly what someone did on the island I lived on.
yeah.
Bought a brand new boat to go fishing on, and then they leave for the summer months, the Caribbean summer months, and the cover got blown off, and the person who was supposed to look after it wasn't paying attention, and the boat got trashed, like the cosmetics of it. So we built a boathouse, and in that
Mhm.
boathouse, then he can store it and he can put it on trickle charge so the batteries don't get messed up, and it's like good as new.
Boats and
Uh,
Ferraris are the same, you see.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So then we have this. Now the next thing is this is fleshing out the idea. Fleshing out the idea, which is again, I know people won't do it. So like I'm 100% convinced of that, but I want to be able to sleep good at night. So that's why I'm telling them the source, you know. But then we have designing. Designing is where most people fuck up because design is an entire skill by itself. That's why you should go to that guy. I'm not gonna promote it anymore, but find some template, buy a template and use
Hmm.
it. It's gonna cost you 100, $200 to get some nice buttons, forms, inputs, tables, charts, all those things. Or we are paying our designer, the guy is like destroying me. Another $5,000 go into this fucking app right now. So if you don't have the budget, but that's gonna make the difference, right? How it looks,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
we judge stuff based on how they look, and people have standards, right? You wouldn't use an app that looks like it was made in 2002 anymore, right?
Absolutely.
So 2 apps, they have the same functionality. One looks outdated and one looks modern. You choose the modern one every single time, right?
Yep.
So the design, you can have all this on lock and this, but if the design fails, you're fucked. You can have this and this on lock, but if you have no coding, you're fucked. You can have this and this, but if you have no idea, so they are all dependent on each other.
Yep.
It's like a trifecta. So buy a template or learn design. That's going to take you another 5 months, 6 months, or faster if you do it with a mentor, which can give you feedback and whatnot. But this is a very important part. If your apps look, let me just roast some guys unnecessarily. Give me a second. Pause.
For me, it's about also the it's the art of when you create something, it's not that it's going to be flawless and perfect, but if something's near perfect, then it's unnoticed.
Mhm.
Like you
Exactly. It doesn't have to, but look,
but then
there's
that what that does is the user just then focuses on using the product, right? So if they're having to stop and think and they're going, oh, I don't know how this works, I don't like the look of it, these all interrupt the user experience. So it should just be effortless. Your
yeah,
your hard work should go unnoticed.
exactly. But yeah, this is an example of bad design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you'd have better design, probably would be making a dent, you know? But yeah, anyway. So design, super important. I don't know why I should be explaining this, but people need to
Especially
hear
for
it.
front end developers.
Yes.
It's in everything. But also think about, take the time to then start observing stuff that you like and stuff like you don't like. For example, app that my PT uses to structure workouts and stuff. It's a fantastic resource in a lot of areas, but the usability of it isn't great. Its response time in particular is
Mm-hmm.
not great. And to the point where I would have not used it if I had the choice to go to something else, but I don't. But
Mm-hmm.
it makes me think, okay, there's so much of this app that's amazing, but because you have to press a button and then count to two before you know whether you've pressed it or you press it again, then that for me is that's a major error in
Red flag.
2023 into 2024, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, but then again, that I will remember that experience and
You wouldn't recommend it, right?
well, yeah, then I can use it for my advantage because then it's just a case of, okay, well, I do like this and I don't like that. I don't like this and I do like that. But there's some big players that are out there whose user experience is awful.
That's
I mean,
perfect. That's
you know,
perfect for you.
so you find out, okay, well, why is this not great? And a lot of it is for me that it's not very intuitive to navigate around platforms. You don't know where to find. For example, I was on LinkedIn the other day and wanted to delete a CV I'd uploaded, and I got there through looking on a blog, but how I would have ever have found that, or even my saved items, trying to find the post that I've saved, it's almost like they just haven't thought that this is important to anybody. So it's a feature that's tucked out the way,
So then you can
and
make a Chrome extension that could save all those posts for you.
mm, that's a good point. There's a guy that makes I think a couple of million a year just making Chrome extensions.
Yeah.
Guy out in India.
And
Uh,
then there's so many opportunities, but now problem is, do you have the skills to build this? All right, as a full stack developer, you need HTML, CSS, JS, React, Node, Express, Mongo, DB,
maybe
Core,
even AWS.
SQL. Yeah, that's for deployment.
There you
And
go.
then that's the cool part, because you said, oh, I saw in a job description that I need to have AWS. So then whenever you see something, you just research, you see what was that thing made for, and then you integrate it in your project. Does not have
Hmm.
real world application for it.
That's what my headache was today.
Yeah, exactly. You see, oh, everyone needs this. Okay, I'm gonna use it in my project.
Yeah. And
It's
I feel
as
that's better than just going out and trying to do a course in it. I mean, maybe doing a course and then implementing it will be okay, but it's the application where you really learn. And I prefer to kind of, well, it depends on what it is, right? Like with the testing, I felt like a course is good because it gives you a basic understanding of the overall testing environment. But with something like AWS, it's so vast that that course, the useful information will probably be about a 30-minute lecture in a 20-hour course.
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well just try and get what I can done from it and understand what I need to know about this vast ecosystem that is AWS, because I'm literally just picking out a sprinkle from it.
Exactly. It's like too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. Just curious, from our viewers, what do you guys think about what we discussed so far? Is this helpful? Is this too much? Is this too little? Do you understand? Have I gone too fast through the material, through the concepts? Do you see yourself being able to apply this? You're talking about skills from a software engineer, right? Yes, correct. Yeah, what's your take on what we discussed so far? Is this helpful? Do you want to see more of this? Because right now, this is the most important part of what we discussed so far. And after this, you have the execution, right? Which is going to be the hard part. But that it is what it is. And there's cannot be. You have tools like ChatGPT, but you still have to write the code. Like that's what people don't understand. Like, oh yeah, coding is dead, whatever. Some people say that.
Well, I don't
Okay,
know.
if coding is dead, then just do this in like 2 weeks. Do this, get market share from someone else, make $1 million now, and then retire. If coding is dead, and you can.
Yeah.
But
It is
you
not
know, you're
that.
using ChatGPT right now to code, right?
You can get lost in circles in ChatGPT. It's really good for some things. For example, like TypeScript for me has been amazing. It's amazing at teaching TypeScript. But when you're trying to use multiple tech at once, so I'm trying to get this AWS to integrate into my React app, and it will only go so far before it gets stuck in loops or start sending you down something way more complicated than is actually necessary. So then you have to balance out trying to figure out what the docs are and finding blogs and everything. So it's a balance. And also I found that when I'm problem solving on my own and perhaps just using blogs and writing code, my problem solving is a bit more, it's more, there's more logic to it and there's more structure to it. Whereas you can just get stuck into getting stuck and then asking ChatGPT, and it will give you a whole stream of answers. And you're, whoa, this is overwhelmed. I try and pick out what I need, and then you go back and use a bit, and you go, hang on, but so you're not always fully understanding what it's giving you back. So it creates more questions that aren't necessarily also useful. So it's a balancing act. ChatGPT is not the solution; it's a tool, and understanding when you're using it inefficiently is really important, because it can be super efficient, but it can also be chronically inefficient.
Yeah, I'm also trying to use it, but I end up like just closing it right away. Just cannot. It like for low level stuff, it's decent, I guess. For dumb stuff, I guess. But for complex stuff, it can't do. It sounds good in YouTube videos, you know. Create that FOMO. So Arthur is asking us, did you forget about tests? No, I didn't forget about tests, but you need to have something to test, bro. Like like it's, trust me, it's harder to build this. After you build it, you can write tests. But do you wanna, that guy Levels.io makes millions of dollars. I don't think he wrote any test, and he's using PHP probably.
He is, and jQuery.
And jQuery, you know what I mean? Like tests are important, sure, but like, are you able to build something useful first? Because that's the most important thing. Build something and then learn tests, then test your app. But if you don't have the ability to create anything, you're just wasting your time testing. It's my opinion. It's like,
yeah, once it scales to a certain point, maybe then converting it into testing. And also, using TypeScript versus JavaScript. If you're not proficient in TypeScript, but you're just starting out, I mean, you can use JavaScript. You don't have to overcomplicate things. So and it's all practice, If you really think that testing should be in from the start, well, have a go. But don't be attached to anything being right or wrong, because you don't know until you've put your own time in and got your own feedback. And that's the only way that you'll be able to figure it out what's right or wrong for you, the way you work and how you think and how you operate and what you can create. Because that's where our uniqueness comes in, is execution is always in a unique way internally. But we need to have a go and accept that our ideas may or may not be great at first, but
when you start finding, like, when you start doing stuff, that's when you get going, that's when things start to pick up.
It's that compounding.
It's like if you are like stuck in like trying to find the best thing, you won't find it. You can always pivot if you have a better idea or whatever from this current project. Because I had last year I also tried to build a SaaS for myself, just for myself, because I wanted to make money on Upwork, and I was fairly successful, but I realized this is not for me. But basically on Upwork, you had to submit proposals, right, to jobs.
Yeah.
So I realized I need to get to write a hook to hook people into writing my proposal with a customized thingy in there to show that I've read their proposal. But then I have to write a template part, which is like the standard stuff that I send to everyone.
Yeah.
So I wrote a tool which was simply a text area. Okay. I was typing some text, which was the customizable part. And then when I was clicking outside the text area, I was receiving the text with the template and with the customized part. And then I was just sending it to the freaking, job. But then I was like, okay, this is actually pretty smart. And they made an entire application, which was giving me A/B tests for like hooks and whatnot. And then I was able to see which proposal template was giving me the most amount of money and stuff like that, and then I was able to track from each proposal which job I sent to, so I created an entire tracking system based on that one idea. So it can start very small and you can build it, and then you can write tests, then you can put TypeScript into it, then you can do whatever, but you have to start with solving a problem, either for yourself or for someone else. Otherwise, you're just playing coding, playing entrepreneurship,
Solve a problem and get it validated by users. And then get validated by users who want to pay. That's what I understand is the process. So, yeah, and I think it'd be good to cover maybe the execution a bit further in another podcast.
We could, yeah. But
it's
that's
quite a lot.
I don't know what to talk about execution. Just build the thing. Like you have the skill. Like how it is in the team project. Meet every week, discuss this, do that.
Sure.
This guy does that. Like there's I don't know how to.
Or perhaps we could then now talk about kind of expectations and the compounding effect, because definitely I've been and still am in the place where I want results, but I'm starting to truly accept that, I might be putting in a huge amount of effort today just to move the big boulder a couple of inches. But over time, it picks up speed, it picks up speed, it picks up speed. And so then you're putting in less effort to move it further. And this is all part of it. And, that curve, I've seen it before. People talking about this curve, and a lot of people give up. They'll put so much effort in and they just get fed up and they're not seeing the results. And if only they keep going for a bit longer, that bit longer might be another 2-3 years. But
when you look at the Rocky movies, what, 2 hours? But the events happen in like 3 months, for some people. But it's also self-awareness, bro. Like, I understand what you're talking about, and that thing sounds good in theory, right? And for example, I know like one of the reasons why my channel is not growing, right? We are talking about self-awareness, is because I have fucked up accent. I cannot speak proper English. I don't know how to do that hook, like, oh, make money fast, and I don't deliver like simple information. Like I try to explain concepts and whatnot, and this it doesn't sell, right? So telling to a guy like me that just keep going, that would be misleading, right? Because I need to change something to grow faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
most
no,
people
that's
don't
not to
have that
say.
self-awareness, like
Yeah. It's not to say that you're not changing, but it's that continual effort, and not, it's just putting in that continuous effort even when you feel like you're not getting the results, because the effort might be in trying to change a little bit about how you're doing things, but it's
mm,
still it's not just stopping and going, oh, it didn't work, or oh, it's not for me. Yeah, it's too difficult. But what sells, I think, on those is the fantasy, right? People sell the fantasy, and people then can live in their fantasy without actually committing to facing the reality. And so the fantasy can be the greatest thing that ever was. Whereas actually you've got to work on your shadows, which is stepping out and walking the walk, because then you get the feedback, and then you get the reality check of who you are, where you are, and what efforts you're putting in reality. And that can be uncomfortable because it makes you somehow feel perhaps less than you were, because
then
you're
you
coming
think,
out
yes.
of your fantasy but then it gives you feedback, and we need feedback in order to be able to grow and improve, and then we can push that forwards and add that into become better. Okay, well, I thought I was going to be really great at this, but it turns out actually I'm really great at this, so I'm going to keep focusing on this aspect. Maybe you become an amazing researcher,
Mm,
and you figure out a way of actually conducting market research, and then you end up really enjoying that, and that becomes your skill that you learn. But at first you were really bad at it, and you thought you were going to be this coder and this product builder, but then you find that within the whole process you really love another aspect of it, and you didn't realize that until you stepped into it. And at first you felt crappy about it, and so the illusion of being this $1 million a year product builder would have been great, because you could have sat in your room and said, oh yeah, I could have done this, but with ChatGPT there, I thought it'd be best not to. And you can stay with that fantasy through life because you never committed to seeing if you'd fail.
mm. 100%, bro. You put it really well. And you don't know how I told you, like, hey, you start this app and then you can pivot if you have a better idea. Like even with code, right? You can start this, but then you can pivot later into something else. You're not stuck with it, That
No.
you're never stuck with anything in reality. You can always like reinvent yourself. Like for example, just coming up with become a coder, make the good cash, work from home. Now you can focus on your dream, which is becoming a fitness influencer. So that you have more cash, more time to work out and to eat better food. You
Yeah.
eat higher quality food. You afford the
Yeah.
best steroids, the best massage. You
You
inject
buy
yourself,
the home gym.
buy the home gym, go to massage your muscles. I don't know. I think that's how you do it. Then you get the photographer. The photographer fucking photographs you. Then you look better in the pictures. Then you create a product and you sell protein powder, and
Yeah. Whilst you're
that's
actually
it.
taking
Like
steroids.
what?
Whilst you're actually taking steroids, but you're like,
Exactly.
hey, here's my diet plan.
Or another thing could be
Anyway.
becoming a developer, and I always wanted to become a sim racer and do esports. So I can buy a sim racing gear. I can afford this wheel that costs $2,000. This thing, da, da, da. I can get the best camera. I can do this. Not have all the time in the world to actually invest it into this. So now I can build my eSIM racer career, and I can compete in Formula One esports. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
and you've
another
got
one.
all this experience of coding and building products, and So all that won't be a loss because then when you move into something else, you can do it better and more effectively. So you can pivot faster.
Exactly. We have to jump and do it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
All right. As you see, like whenever we are dropping the gems, there are no people. When I do the roasts, when there's like
You know, yeah.
what's the name? Drama. When there's drama involved, that's when you get the viewers.
Mm, with
You buy it with emotion, just justify with logic. Oh, I have to stay until the end. Maybe he's gonna laugh at that guy.
I see. Yeah, let's make ourselves feel better because we're going to laugh at put other people down. Um, which is ultimately why people like things get people getting roasted and stuff like that.
Yeah. I had a
So
guy
anyway,
then he deleted his stuff after. I was like, fuck.
oh,
Yeah.
well, hey, that's not a bad thing though because it's feedback.
Yeah.
It's feedback. It might say, go back, go away,
Oh,
dust
very
yourself
interesting
off,
point. He said,
improve.
so I roasted his app and he said, you should have pressed that button because that button would allow you to log in as a default user. And I'm like, bro, I don't have time to figure out how to use your app.
No,
That's why you should do the research because the recruiter is not
right?
going to be like, you have 5 seconds, 3 seconds. The recruiter is like this.
Absolutely.
TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. What? Fuck that.
Yes,
TikTok, TikTok,
exactly.
TikTok. You know what I mean?
That's their life, right?
You have 3 seconds. You know what I mean? In between TikToks and coffee, they
Um,
need to figure out how to use your app. You haven't done your research. That's why it's hard.
that's it. Well, that's it. It's not easy.
Ooh, okay. Any other
There we
questions,
go.
guys? Any other takes on what we discussed so far? The chat has been very slow today,
Mm.
uh,
Well, we
which
could
is
look at we could look at ways to
drop a W
engage
in the chat.
more.
That's how the streamers are doing it. Drop
Is
the
that
W
right?
in the chat if you liked it. W I think means win and L means loss. So if you have a bunch of W's, that means you're doing well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Bro,
Well,
I'm
perhaps
also
we need
learning this
to
shit.
we you what?
I'm also learning this stuff.
Yeah, right.
W in
How
the
we
chat,
can
boys.
improve the format.
Exactly.
Improve the format. All right.
Cool. I guess that's it, Ed. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. And
Thank you
I'll
too,
see you
Christian.
tomorrow,
Enjoyed
yeah?
it. Yeah. All right. Nice one.
See ya.
Cheers all.